Coming up on today's Airborne, Eclipse powers up its first 550. We're going to Las Vegas for the 56th annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, and relics from the Apollo era are recovered from the deep. Welcome to Airborne on Aero TV. I'm Ashley Hale. Eclipse Aerospace celebrated a major production milestone on Monday, the first power-up of the new production Eclipse 550 twin-engine jet. The first production Eclipse 550 aircraft successfully powered up its two Pratt Whitney PW610F engines, and the aircraft systems came online at the company's facility in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Eclipse Aerospace officially restarted the Eclipse jet aircraft production line last June and continues on track for deliveries of the first new Eclipse 550 series aircraft in the third quarter of this year. Eclipse 550 customers will be able to customize their aircraft with new features, including auto throttle, synthetic vision, enhanced vision, satellite phones, custom interiors, and anti-skid brakes. With the onset of spring, it's time once again for the annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. And this time, we're going west to the city of Las Vegas. Once again, ANN will be on hand with 2 days of live coverage here on Aero TV. We'll be covering the convention from top to bottom, so watching Aero TV will be just like being there. Our coverage begins on Tuesday, March 26th at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Time, with live streaming of the opening ceremonies and new product introductions from 27 avionics manufacturers and distributors. The event, sponsored by Universal Avionics Systems Corporation, is the primary launching pad for companies to unveil the latest and greatest in new avionics products and services coming to market for the current year, and more industry leaders are taking notice. Coverage from Las Vegas will continue on both Tuesday and Wednesday afternoons, live from the MGM Grand Hotel. So join ANN as we bring you our live coverage of the 56th annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. When the main boosters for the Apollo Saturn V rockets fell into the Atlantic Ocean in the 1960s and 70s, it was probably expected that they would never be seen again. The hardware that started men on their journey to the moon sank in 3 miles of water, where they have lain for more than 40 years. Until now. Bezos Expeditions reports on its website that they are returning to Cape Canaveral with enough parts to piece together displays of 2 flown F-1 engines. Jeff Bezos writes on the website that it is his hope that the hardware recovered using remotely operated vehicles at a depth of 3 miles will tell the story of how the engines contributed to the space program, including their 5,000 miles per hour fall back to Earth and the subsequent impact with the Atlantic. He said watching the ROVs work underwater was something like watching an EVA in space. Bezos said that not all of the serial numbers on the engines are complete, so identifying on which mission they flew may be challenging. He said the next step is to stabilize the components against further corrosion so that they may be put on display where, quote, just maybe it will inspire something amazing. Actor, pilot, and GA advocate Harrison Ford was invited to join the House Aviation Caucus for an event on Tuesday, hosted by several of the industry's biggest advocacy groups. Ford, a pilot for more than 20 years, said that flying has given him, quote, great joy, and I hope I can use it to benefit other people, end quote. This according to a report appearing in The Hill. In typical Washington fashion, the appearance of a celebrity drew more media than would otherwise have paid attention to this event. The Daily Caller reports that Ford said that if the FAA goes through with a plan to close as many as 238 control towers across the country as a result of sequestration, quote, accidents are going to happen, end quote. The French news service AFP reports that Ford said this funding mechanism has got some serious problems and stressed that closing towers at small airports around the country could have a huge impact on small business. While his tone through the meeting was mostly serious, he did say that there was a big difference between flying GA airplanes and piloting the Millennium Falcon. Quote, "The pay for flying the Millennium Falcon was a lot higher," he said. You're watching Airborne. More when we come back in just a moment.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne Aero TV, our website, or podcast, drop us an email to news-by@aero-news.net. Ryanair has placed the largest order ever for a European airliner with Boeing, agreeing to purchase 175 new Boeing 737-800 aircraft of just under $8 billion. The Associated Press reports that the announcement was made in conjunction with a visit Tuesday by Irish Prime Minister Edna Kinney to Washington, D.C. Ryanair is Boeing's biggest European customer for the 737-800, with an existing fleet of 305 of the airplanes. Boeing said in a statement that it is delighted that Ryanair has announced a commitment to order 175 next-generation 737-800 for the airline's fleet expansion. When finalized, the agreement will be worth $15.6 billion at list prices and will be posted to the Boeing Orders and Deliveries website as a firm order. EASA has certified the two newest members of the Falcon family of business jets, the 2000S and the 2000LXS. Approval from the FAA is expected to follow shortly. Unveiled in May of 2011, the Falcon 2000S is the new entry-level jet in the Falcon family, equipped with a full slate of standard features, including upgraded Easy-2 avionics, Falcon Cabin HD Plus entertainment system, and a brand new fixed configuration cabin designed by the BMW Group DesignWorks USA. The Falcon 2000S brings large cabin comfort to the super mid-size segment. The Falcon 2000LXS will replace the 2000LX by the end of 2013. EASA simultaneously approved use of Dassault's proprietary award-winning Easy-2 avionics suite on Falcon 2000 Easy Series aircraft. All in-service versions of the Falcon 2000, equipped with Easy cockpits, will eventually receive the Easy-2 upgrade once corresponding service bulletins are approved. Among the new options and enhancements offered by Easy-2 are a synthetic vision system, improved display symbology, XM weather, flight management system improvements, dual Jeppesen charts, a runway awareness and advisory system, ADS-B, and more. For the first time in a decade, the Atlantic City Airshow will go forward without a U.S. military act on its schedule. Another victim of sequestration, the Army's Golden Knights parachute team, told the organizers of the New Jersey event that they would be unable to perform at the Airshow in June. But the Golden Knights cancellation does not mean that the entire event will be scrapped. It will be the first time since the Airshow was revived a decade ago that it will not include some kind of military presence. But Joe Kelly, president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber, said there was always a what-if plan in place. The show's organizers are in the process of identifying other commercial acts to round out the schedule. Of course, getting more commercial performers will mean that they will be seeking more donations from local businesses to cover the cost of the event, which normally runs about $1 million. The Lynchburg Regional Airshow Corporation announced Friday that the Memorial Day weekend airshow, featuring the Navy's Blue Angels and other performers, has been canceled. The show was to be held at Lynchburg Regional Airport in Lynchburg, Virginia. The show's organizers said that the move was due to the government's sequestration of funding that supports military airshow performers. The Lynchburg Regional Airshow Corporation concluded that the risk of attempting to conduct a viable airshow were too great. The organizers said the most regrettable result of this cancellation is that their plan to recognize and honor the military on Memorial Day weekend will be negated by the actions and decisions in Washington. After the recent debacle that was an ABC News story on general aviation, is it any wonder that ANN's editor-in-chief Jim Campbell has some thoughts to share on interacting with the general media? Here's this week's Barnstorming Commentary.
Thanks, Ashley, and hi, folks. Well, not the greatest week for general aviation, especially if you happen to be watching ABC News. Good friend of ours, Rich Stoll, certainly one of the best unusual attitude and stall and spin awareness instructors in the country, if not the world, had granted an interview some months ago to ABC News under the auspices of doing a story on people with unique careers. Well, the piece didn't appear in January, didn't appear in February, and it finally appeared recently because ABC decided to sandwich it in during a period of time where there were a number of GA accidents all in a very short and concentrated period of time. Some were fatal, many were not. And as a result, they saw this as an opportunity to take yet another pot shot at aviation. Now, ABC and its subsidiary Production 2020, which used some of this apparently, are well known for anti-aviation hysteria and have at times done some really bizarre stuff. Using an ABC reporter who is ostensibly a pilot, although we didn't see much evidence of that, using terms like death spiral and spin dives, and claiming that barrel rolls were caused by high wind or turbulence, or statements like, because when an airplane stalls, it doesn't have enough speed to fly. Well, it just reveals the worst aero ignorance in quite some time. And then, of course, there's some silly statements like, more private pilots are in the air now than ever. Boy, don't we wish. The fact of the matter is that the general public deserves better. The general public needs better, and the general public isn't getting it. And aviation, in this particular case, really got a bad shot across the bow because somebody didn't check their facts. Somebody didn't really care about the truth of the story, and more important, that the story be represented factually and with all aspects of it properly represented. It didn't happen. And the problem is that time and time again, pilots will be asked to comment on this item or that item, usually after an accident or something where, quote unquote, it bleeds, it leads, but something tragic so it'll make the top of the news. And the fact of the matter is, in the past, we urged caution, and now, because of things like this and because of the chain of events, we just simply say, don't. You can't trust the general media. As media people ourselves, it's hard to say that, but we have to say it. And the fact of the matter is, we're not going to get better until we demand better. And by demanding better in this particular case, I suggest we simply say no. When you meet our standards for truthfulness, accuracy, fairness, and comprehension, we'll be happy to talk to you, but not until. Shame on you, ABC News. You're capable of better. We deserve better. And we were both sorely disappointed. For the Aero-News Network, Aero TV, and of course Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell, and we'll see what happens next. Thanks.
Finally, today on Airborne, a helicopter pilot in Canada who thought he was making a routine sightseeing flight on Monday wound up as an unwitting accomplice in a prison break, as he was forced at gunpoint to fly to a prison in St. Jerome, north of Montreal, Canada, and help 2 inmates escape. The New York Times reports that 2 inmates attempted to climb up a cable or rope into the aircraft, but one wound up tangled and dangling from it, and one was hanging onto the landing skid as they cleared the prison fence. The inmate tangled on the rope was slightly injured when the aircraft landed to allow him and the other escapee to get inside. After a flight of about 18 miles, the pilot was told to land the aircraft in a parking lot. The escapees and their accomplices got into an SUV. The pilot was blindfolded and abandoned with his aircraft, but the helicopter transponder allowed police to track the aircraft. They followed the helicopter to the parking lot and then trailed the SUV until it reached a remote cabin where the two escapees and their accomplices were captured after an exchange of gunfire. Luckily, the pilot was not injured. Well, that's our program for Friday, March 22nd. Remember, you can get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories at Aero-News.net. And please remember that Airborne is streamed twice weekly and is always online. Join us again next week for our live coverage of the AEA Convention and Trade Show. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.